This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl, episode number 189. As usual, we are scattered around this half of the globe at least. Where
Yes.
are you, Tim? I'm in Brooklyn. Where are you?
I'm in Texas. I'm in Denton. We played in Austin last night. Great show, but we drove back to Denton, which we didn't get in until 6:30 in the morning. But it was really awesome show, and I don't know. Texas is Texas. It's
Yeah,
oh
well, Simon's in LA. We just
I'm
came
in
from,
Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. We just came from all over the place. So
oh
it's
yes,
been a
that was
travel.
that tour we just did. Well, both tours. We just did two back-to-back mini tours, and
It was
it was
fantastic.
there were just thrilling and spectacular shows. I really thoroughly
Well,
enjoyed them.
we were lucky that we avoided with our tour with Nelson, we did drive very close to the toxic
East
rail
Palestine.
spill and then did end up in Buffalo where a small earthquake happened, but at least we were not too close to the 10 mass shootings in the
Mm.
last 3 days with
Oh
more
yeah,
than 50 victims that were the worst weekend in 2023. We somehow avoided that. And by the way, I mean, now even 45 minutes from the East Palestine uh, derailment, there was an explosion at a metal factory that's that the toxic Ohio's got to be just closed off at this point.
it's pretty brutal. Was one of the mass shootings at Mardi Gras in New Orleans? I
Yes,
think.
it was. It was at Mardi Gras. There was one in Chicago on the Chicago Expressway. In Memphis, 11 people were shot, six in Mississippi, nine children shot at a Georgia gas station. I mean, this is
So
just
check
getting out
this
of
out.
hand.
The other night in Houston, the house we were staying at. Well, Rick he got the wrong address.
Oh,
Two
no.
two doors down, and the person's like, "Oh, just come in. The door's open." Next thing you know, we're in this. Guy's like, "I don't think it's it," because it's like one of these like yards with like they're working on like 10 cars in the yard. I'm like, what? It's like, oh no, they're not got cinder blocks kind of deal. Um, and some guy comes out. He goes, "What the fuck are you doing? Blah blah blah. You need to leave." It's like, okay. At which point I realized the guy had a fucking gun in his hand, and
It's Texas.
yeah, and we were on technically on his property, and I had to like walk by my. I kind of put my back to him, so it wasn't like, hey, I'm a threat. Like kind of
Yep.
go into the car, and
We had also, I mean, at least the family man that you walked in on with the boys of retrovirus didn't have a gun, which happened in Canada.
oh yeah, well that's funny you bring that up because if that was Texas, that could have gone really bad. I mean, the Airbnb. I mean, I don't want to give people ideas, but it doesn't seem like on average the hosts change those combinations. I mean, if you get the wrong date, you walk right into someone else. I mean,
Well,
it's
we've had a few hairy experiences, and also lockouts and wrong key passes and et cetera, et cetera. But still, it is a better option than
that's the problem. If you don't check in to the Airbnb or hotel before the show, it can get weird
you
if
could
something's
walk
off.
in on a family man, or you could walk in on some wine dealers, as that once walked in on us.
That was in Houston too, actually.
Oh my word! Anyway, that's the way it is. I'm not very happy. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of sad to find out that one of the only politician I can stomach at this point, John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, had to check himself in to a hospital because he's suffering from depression. Now, of course, he had a stroke, and how could you not have depression if you're dealing with
Right.
politics in this country? But I mean, and it's a good thing that he checked himself in because he still continues to suffer the after effects of the stroke. And look, when you're an intelligent person whose communication wires get complicated from a stroke, of course it's going to be depressed. I mean, the stroke nearly killed him, put it this way. Very
Yeah.
sad. And I
Well,
can think of about 250 other US politicians I would rather wish a frickin' stroke on than
well,
him.
that's what I was wondering when we talked about this because heart attacks and strokes have gone up significantly since COVID. They don't know why that is, but like young people
Right.
having it. So I wonder. We
It,
have a
it
friend.
it twists. It does something to the heart tissues when people get
It can.
a
Yeah.
serious case. So, I mean, that's pretty horrible
Yes,
as
it
it
is.
is.
Well, speaking of horrible,
Why not?
an 85-year-old woman in Fort Pierce,
Oh,
Florida, 700-pound, 10-foot alligator. And this almost identical story happened when I lived in Florida for 6 months to an old man. Launches out, locks onto her dog. The dog's kind of whimpering, and she's going to try to rescue the dog. Well, eyewitnesses said next thing they know, she's being dragged into the
yeah.
pond by the alligator and disappears underwater. The dog lived. The dog was fine. So,
Granny died.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
85, but
I don't think I sent it to you, but just a few blocks from where Simon and I live,
oh, I saw this.
they found a 4-foot alligator wandering around the park.
Yes, in Prospect Park. And, exotic animal collectors, I mean, that's what happens. They often escape, or they're
too big. I
handle.
mean, who the hell thinks they should have an alligator as a pet? I mean,
Well,
come on.
what was that guy up in the Bronx or Harlem coming
Oh,
to?
tigers. Yeah,
Tigers.
what? Yeah. No, there was even one in Park Slope that had a wild tiger. What are you doing, people? Anyway, you might go to jail. And speak about jail, this has got to be one of the more horrific stories I've heard in a while. An Alabama inmate froze to death after being locked in the jail's kitchen freezer as punishment while in police custody. Yeah. So, I mean, they lock him in there, they leave him in there, and another man dies under police irresponsible behavior.
I mean, that's just what are they thinking when they do that?
Freezing to death. I thought I was going to freeze to death in Buffalo, but I wasn't locked in a closet.
That shit was fucking cold. That shit was.
Well, you're sweating it out in Texas now. It's
pretty
it was
warm. Almost up to 90 here in Dallas. I mean,
it's always warm in my apartment and my body, so I'm just have the fan on and I'm staying cool. That's all I know.
Yes. Well, I don't know what else.
Not much. I mean, you're
well, there's kind of scary stories like, are we on the verge of World War III kind of deal going on?
Haven't we been forever? I mean,
Nord Stream 2 thing. If you believe the Seymour Hersh, who is a Nobel Prize winning journalist, if that's true, that's not going to make us look very good, or it's going to also disrupt our relationship.
Well, there are a million and one things to panic about, and I refuse to panic over any of them at this point because we just. We hear so little of what's actually wrong. What we do hear is so freaking wrong that the only rebellion is to just say, you know what? I got to live my life. I got to do what I got to do, what I want to do. I got to be with who I want to be with. And I mean, look, protests have not worked so far. I don't think they're going to work now. We need to abolish these politicians. We need to, finally Trump said something intelligent. We should have mental acuity tests for anybody wanting to enter politics. What is he talking about, this idiot? Right? I mean, he'd be the first to get ousted. Come on. Anyway, whatever. I'm having a good time, and I know you are too.
Of course.
And we live to spread that good time to anyone we come in contact with. So with that in mind, speak about a good time gal.
Oh, yes.
Our guest this day, Rita D'Albert, who's a fun-loving and fun-providing gal, and we're going to talk to her about all of her various activities in the world of entertainment. So with that being said, this is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, episode number 189. Have a good whatever. Just make it good. This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and our very special guest, Rita D'Albert, musician, singer, lyricist, producer of one of the most fantastic and long-lasting events in Los Angeles, the Lucha VaVOOM, which maybe was the first time included Mexican wrestling, burlesque, and rock and roll music at the beautiful Mayan Theater, which went on for years. Hello, Rita. You're in the Heretic House, which is a pretty famous haunted house. What are you doing there?
Well, I'm kind of couch surfing right now, and they were kind enough to let me stay, and it's really delightful. Kind of don't want to leave ever, so they might be stuck with me.
Have you had any haunted paranormal experiences there yet?
You might be haunting the place. Nice.
I know. I think I'm the haunter, but
Oh.
yeah, I'm avoiding taking psychedelics because I think that'll open the portal.
Uh-oh. Do you
Look,
do you like
wait a
taking
second.
psychedelics?
It was only a week ago
I
that
do.
Tim, taking his psychedelics, had another experience with the trees,
Oh
which
my
he often
God.
has.
That was,
But
I mean,
back to the
yeah.
question. Do you like taking psychedelics?
Do I like them? Yeah, I do. I like mushrooms a lot and DMT, but I'm really kind of a control freak, so I'd like everyone to shut the fuck up so I can enjoy my trip and leave me alone. So I'm
Ooh.
very antisocial about psychedelics.
Well, that's where we differ. I go into like cop bars and stuff when I'm on psychedelics. But
Oh.
that's oh yeah.
I only do that on ecstasy, but that's just the way I am because I love fucking the police. I with the police. So, so Rita, you have a very varied career, starting with I don't know what I think were the Pandoras your first musical exposition into the world of getting
Yes,
on the
they
stage
were.
and making some noise? Well, they were one of the
Yeah.
first all female groups.
Yes, we were the raunchy group when it was like the Bengals and the Go-Go's were the sweet ones. So we got a lot of crap back then. I know, because we were the raunchy ones. And it's so funny when I go back and read the press and how everyone was bemoaning the fact that we sang about sex and that we kind of turned the tables on sexist metal. And it was kind of tongue in cheek, like, about fucking a guy and then leaving. And it really, really upset male rock critics. And then women were like, why can't there be more Chrissy Hines in the world? And it's like, why can't we
Excuse
just
me,
be
one was
raunchy?
enough of those, I just have to say.
For real. I agree. So yeah, we toughed it out. And then it got a little bit, it started to go more in a metal direction. So I left and started doing more garage, which is why I joined the Pandoras in the first place.
I mean, how did you start playing the guitar and what music? How you were that must have you were pretty. You were all still pretty young in the history's eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you start playing the guitar and what music were you inspired by at that point? Back in the beginning.
I have to actually admit that my first instrument was flute, and I was a classical flautist, and I was about 11. And then I started learning all the Jethro Tull songs because that's the only place to go as a rock flautist. So it's literally playing every solo and doing all the breathing and sounds and stuff. And I thought, I really don't want to be a rock flautist. And there wasn't a ton of female musicians when I started playing guitar. So I kind of had to imagine myself as Jimmy Page because I loved Led Zeppelin. And this is about the beginning of punk. So
my first acid trip was to the music of Led Zeppelin. We have so much in common.
How did that go?
Wonderful.
I mean, I loved them. And then I got really into more like the Yardbirds and learning more Jeff Beck type stuff. But still, even though I had a Les Paul and I had pedals and a thing, I really had a hard time envisioning myself in a band because there wasn't a ton of that. So I'm going to date myself for when I was playing. And then I just kept practicing and learning. And then the Pandoras, somebody recommended me for that. And that was my first band. So I kind of stepped right into a big situation, which is great. And I've been really lazy ever since.
Did you tour much?
No, I didn't. I toured like around California, but I didn't do the ones like going to the South or anything like that. Just around California. I did the Rock Hard album. And then Paula wanted to do more Whitesnake music, and I just cannot.
Oh, God.
I couldn't. And I had this terrible vision of me being like, I thought I could never break out of that role of being like the rhythm guitarist for Whitesnake. Like I thought I'd be tarnished with that brush forever. So I had to leave. I loved the girls and I loved being in the band, but I was more terrified of never being able to break out because people back then weren't really able to reinvent themselves. It's like, you're this, you're that metal guitar player,
Right.
And now it's a lot different.
Well, you have such a great voice and such a great singing voice and such a great, you're in the kitty litter voice. I mentioned that I'm in, which is so sexy. So more singing, I guess, was called for as well.
For sure. And I'm really lazy, but I really, really want to get back into it. So this speaking thing will be a nice kind of foray into that. But yeah, I want to sing. Plus, too lazy to schlep gear too, like, or just, don't feel like it. So
Well, you're talking about the speaking gig because, well, Tim Dahl, you, Joseph Keckler, Sylvia Black, Josie Reck, and some other gals that you're bringing in, and Dynasty Handbag are having a Sunday salon at the Zebulon in LA, March 12th. And when we met, and I was so happy you were enthusiastic. I love to have workshops with women who have or have not been on the stage to bring more spoken word to the stage. So you graciously said you would help to get it together, and we are gonna have the badass babes of burlesque bitchin' the blues. You're my number one
yeah.
star in that.
Oh, well, all the girls are so excited. I cast a wide net, but the net I cast was to girls that I've seen just be absolutely fearless on stage with their dance moves. And when I propose like them speaking, it's terrifying to everyone because you're used
Well,
you can kind of do your body and do this,
we're
but
gonna
to actually
change
use your voice.
that. Or we're gonna
Yeah.
change that around. And I mean, I've experienced the same thing with rocker guys that are exhibitionist on stage, but when it comes to spoken word, terrified. But I think it's the most powerful position to be in. You, a mic, and 20 to 200 heads you might have to knock about.
Well, I've been astonished by your performances, and I think it's so incredibly brave, and it's so vulnerable, and yet you're so in charge. And so it's like it's really intimidating, but I think you have to face your worst fears. I haven't done improv yet. I think that's the next one.
Well,
That's terrifying in a different way.
I don't do improv. I'm impressed that Sylvia Black's going to be doing comedy.
I know.
Yeah,
It's really
I'm looking
Yes,
forward to that.
and Tim is going to be the glue that connects the
Well, the
interstitial.
psychedelic bad
in-
trip, maybe. Glue.
Were you playing sitar at the
No,
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 that
no.
was
he's going to
great.
play. He's going to play psychedelic bass. But look, I think it's so important for women to get on the stage and talk about their real life experiences, or comedically, tragically, just to get their voice out there. I just think it's so important, and it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun on top of it.
I agree. Also, if I can kind of jump back, kind of going to that thing where you get pigeonholed. When I was in the Pandoras, I was asked to perform in the Velvet Hammer Burlesque. And I was really terrified to do it because I thought, God, it's so hard to be taken seriously as a musician the second you take your top off. Like it's all over and it's just going to be written off. And no matter how technically good you are, forget it. So I think it's really amazing that it's evolved to this point where the girls that I'm bringing in, like there's no fear and they can just cross genres and do all this stuff in a way like, we couldn't have done before, where you can be a stripper or a burlesque artist and be taken seriously speaking or playing music or whatever. There's
Well,
no
I loved once when I was performing at the Cat Club in New York. A terribly raunchy true life story. And Richard Curran was showing one of the films, and somebody behind me who had already hated me said, I hope I never see those fucking tits again. I said, honey, get used to them. They're not going away. And besides, they're only tits.
So was that for the Pandoras? Was that industry basically trying to strong arm you into kind of going into the more glam metal direction that you basically ran from, or was that just kind of like that was the zeitgeist and there was just kind of this outside pressure that I think we should go in that direction? Or lastly, did the majority of the members just like that?
None of the members wanted to do it except Paula, and it was her band. So one by one, we fell away after I left and then Kim and Melanie did the muff from there, which were great. And that was much more the direction the rest of us wanted to be in. But, Paul is no longer with us, sadly. But I think she kind of felt that she just kept wanting to, back then there's a little bit more pressure to be a little bit more masculine. And that was the direction she went in, and she saw that masculinity taking shape like in Guns N' Roses and stuff that to me was so retrogressive. Like I felt that was taking women back a century or so. Like you don't get to sing, you get to sit at my feet in the photo shoot or be in a cage in the video.
Right.
So I keep Go on.
No, like Lita Ford or some of the women that had success kind of going in that direction. I mean, yeah, she kind of, I guess she was kind of masculine, but feminine. It was kind of not really clear what was going on there.
Well, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No,
I think
No,
everybody
not at
should
all.
embrace all sides of their personality and be
Absolutely.
strong and be female and be, you know, sexy and vulnerable and be male, and all of it all comes together and whatever. I mean, I defy
I agree.
definition. And but you know, we're talking about a very weird time in the 80s when
Yes.
you know, the rebellion of both the music of the 60s and then the music of the 70s, and then you have MTV, and then people that might have been semi-alternative or were alternative were then being couched into being more commercial as a
Yes.
novelty act. And that's what happened to a lot of people, and I'm sure that's what was
Yeah.
happening with the Pandoras.
Yeah. So I thought I'll just take my chances out there. And then that kind of, I just wound up playing with Andy Preboy. I was accompanying him like on a very different kind of music, doing cabaret, and we toured Australia and wound up doing this giant musical together.
Well, White
But,
Trash wins Lotto. I mean,
yeah.
let's just say what it was called, because the name alone
Yeah.
should have gotten an award. And what was that based loosely? I mean, I never saw it, but I mean, I read up about it that it was kind of based on a failing Axl Rose, which I thought Axl Rose was a failure from the beginning. I just have to say, I never liked that freaking man.
I
That
know,
they were
I don't like
hideous.
it either.
But so wait,
It was,
I want to go back to something you said before. You said you're lazy, yet you. We'll start with White Trash Wins Lotto. You helped write and produce a musical
Yeah.
stage show that was put on to quite a successful response.
I guess
Don't-
I'm not lazy in that sense, because that was a lot of work. You know, we staged it, choreographed it. We had a big deal on Universal at the time. We took it to Aspen. You know, I did the costuming. I did everything.
Well, wait a minute.
we
You did
were-
everything. Let's talk more about that. Because yes, you did everything. You did the costuming, you did the producing, you did the writing, you probably did the booking.
choreography.
Choreography.
Yeah. The booking came easy because we were playing at Largo, and that's when they were a big comedy scene. So we had like Patton Oswalt and Marilyn Rice Cub and Karen Kilgariff, people like that.
Wait, excuse me. By the way,
incorporate them in.
Marilyn Rice Cub was my student at the San Francisco Art Institute, and she was, as she always was, like a transistor radio gone berserk.
That's a perfect way to describe her. It was a really great kind of convergence of music and comedy. So we actually brought them all in to play the various members of Guns N' Roses. But the thing about White Trash Wins Lotto was that we thought Broadway, like when they did, where Rent was out and then Hedwig came out, and we felt like Broadway always tries to do rock, like Godspell or something, like, but you have to hit a mark, and like you're never going to get rock and roll. So how about this? How about we're going to come from rock and roll and make fun of you hitting marks and like singing about metal bands and like Wonder and looking off into the stars. And that's what we did. We got the gayest, most talented triple threat guy to play Axl Rose, and he played it, you know, straight, but his straight was not straight.
Straight but sideways, yeah.
Yeah, he was so amazing. So like we played it really straight, and then a lot of the songs were Gilbert and Sullivan style patter songs. So there are a lot of parodying the industry and you know, stars when they have to move into a mansion all of a sudden, and you know, all this stuff. So really made fun of the trappings of fame and the way people become sycophantic, and using Axl Rose as kind of the centerpiece. It was really, really funny.
I think that we need to have a reissue.
I would love that.
Do you think Axl Rose ever saw it?
You know, we had people like Nicolas Cage's production. Everyone wanted to make it into a movie and stuff. And they were like, oh, you know, Nicolas Cage is really good friends with Axl Rose. So he sent people down to see it. And they're like, oh, man, you're kind of making fun of him. It's his friend.
I mean, it's hard to make fun of somebody who's already a joke.
Yeah. I don't think he had the best sense of humor about himself back then.
Well, if you saw him with his cornrows on, I don't know. He should have looked at himself first before leaving the house.
Oh man, I know. So,
well, I mean, Lafayette, Indiana. It's, you know, you can leave it, but it's not. It's going to stay there. So
yeah, you can take the boy out of the cornfield, but you can't take the corn out of the boy's ass without. I said nothing.
Very quick.
So I mean, you consider yourself lazy, yet you did everything in this. And I I can relate. I mean, sometimes when you have a vision and you have goals, or just how you even view yourself, it's good to have things to reach for. But I fail every day, but that I don't. It doesn't defeat me. I sometimes I accomplish all my goals, but sometimes I often don't.
I
So
succeed every day by still being alive with both fingers raised straight up in the motherfucking air. Hello, talking to lovely ladies who are doing the shit they should be doing.
I know. I say I'm lazy. I think it's because once you kind of get something that works, it's so easy. It's a joy to do, and it doesn't feel like work, and you can do it.
Let's say you're luxurious. You like to have a little bit of luxury. I love bed. I like to be luxurious in bed.
I love, and it's a great place to work from on your computer and just be comfy. I love comfy beds. I love to be comfortable. So I think that's a better way of putting it.
Comfy beds and uncomfortable men. Aren't they always?
Seems to be my motto.
Well, it's not lazy to realize something with ease when actually in reality took your whole life to be able to do that.
Exactly. Okay, I'm learning a lot of different ways to phrase it. I like to do things the easy way.
We all would love to do things the easy way, but they don't make it easy for us. But nonetheless, so you had so much to do with White Trash Wins Lotto, and then why stop there? You went on to absolutely a pretty huge concept that was very successful, bringing Mexican wrestlers. I'm sorry, I didn't wear my mask. I would have. I have one, or my burlesque costume. Bringing Mexican wrestling with burlesque and rock music to one of the most beautiful theaters in LA. Did it start at the Mayan Theater, or what year did that start? And how did it start?
It was 2002, and my partner at the time was dating a Mexican wrestler, and she was down in Mexico seeing him. She's like, everyone would really love this. So she used to bring people down, like get a van and drive everyone to Tijuana to see the wrestling. And then at some point thought, wouldn't it be easier to bring the wrestlers to the audience? And so because I'd done Velvet Hammer and White Trash and Lotto and all this stuff, she came to me and was like, hey, how do we do this? And so bringing in the comedians I worked with at Largo and White Trash and dancers to the Velvet Hammer, and just kind of making this 3-part thing where it's comedians doing commentary on top of the wrestling, and then in between the matches having a palate cleanser. Because if you go see a wrestling match, it's great and it's entertaining, but people have like this attention span, and so do I. So I just wanted to go thing and be really surreal, and it worked from the get-go. So after that, it just thought, well, it would be great to do this regularly, but not too regularly where people feel like they can give it a miss this month. So it was 4 times a year. And I got really great because reaching that audience that we did, you'd think it would be kind of like the Limp Bizkit crowd. I know I'm reaching way back, but you think like that's the guys that like wrestling. But it actually kind of grew more into like the art scene and people that work in production. And I really crossed all these different demographics of crowds, like little tribes. And once I could kind of start bringing in Christine to just wow and terrify.
Who we had recently on the podcast. We've had Christine. Yes, love.
Christine is like, I love Christine. I've been lucky enough to be friends with Christine. I'm still terrified of that powerful presence that is Paul/Christine. And I'm so excited that we're friends. And same with Peaches. And it's just so great.
So what did you do with Peaches exactly? I mean, look, Peaches did write one of the best tunes based on "Fuck the Pain Away." Honey, I've been trying to do that my whole life. I gotta change it up somehow.
She's astonishing. Just like natural at everything, entertaining, and writing songs and performing. Like I just in awe of her, and she's such a boss. Like the first time I had her, we became friends through a mutual friend, and he's like, I know you're gonna love each other, and we did. We're about the same age, and we're both Jewish, and we became our age appropriate friends, because it's hard to have age appropriate people that are still interesting and they haven't gone off and had kids and stuff.
Well, the last thing I want to have is an age appropriate lover, honey. That ain't gonna fly now. Even when I was 20, it wasn't working. I'm just
I agree. I totally agree. So yeah, we just became friends, and then I had her do the intro video for us, and then she came and performed, and then we got to mix it up a little. She sang with Black Sabbath at the show, and I just wanted it to be like a spectacle. I wanted to integrate it into the show, not just have her sing a song, but how can we like integrate dancers? So we had pole dancers spinning and wrestlers wrestling. It was just like a ring circus. I had a little tiny mini Lady Gaga run up and present her with a giant trophy. It was mental. So she did it 300 other times, and the last time I had been on tour with her backup dancing, and I got to say, it was a real kindness of her to have me because I'm really not a good dancer.
That's not true.
Well, Peach's forte is not exactly choreography anyway. It's more of just the whole spectacle of the event and proposing outlandish ideas. It's just great.
Yeah.
It's her ideas.
her last tour, her dancers are astonishing, and they just really her shows are incredible. And I think she could do a Las Vegas thing if she wanted. She's such a great entertainer.
Well, there's a lot
So,
of
yeah.
pawn shops there. Maybe on the roof of one they'd have her, but I don't really see her at
I
any.
know you not
I don't see her taking over for Britney.
No.
Although maybe she
Imagine
should. Maybe she should just, stage a revolt and just pop in there. Adele, get
Celine
off the stage.
Dion.
I'm here.
Yeah. It's time for fun. Yeah. Sorry, Cirque du Soleil. So yeah, that's how Peaches came about, and she's coming back here soon to do some shows.
And then
I
what about
can't.
Dave Stewart? How did that? I mean, this is what's so interesting is, of course, with the Lucha VaVOOM, that it did bring in people from very different walks, because it wasn't just wrestling, it was comedy, it was a good time, it was beautiful women, it was acrobatics, and it was in a beautiful space. So it did
Yeah.
expand the audience. It wasn't, you might think at first, oh my God, let's hope it's not just the pervs up the street.
Exactly.
But it expanded the audience because the times were ripe for it. And also, I mean, burlesque, especially the renaissance of burlesque at that period, because there's been a few renaissances of burlesque that just was much more elegant and also sometimes comedic. And it just showed women embracing the power of their beauty, but in a really much more elegant and artistic way than just a bikini model in a fucking Guns N' Roses video.
Yeah, I like ones that come on and have a story arc to their number. If it's got comedy, as long as it's not a clown, I can't with stripping clowns. I'm not gonna do that.
They don't make me laugh, and I'm not afraid of them either. So just keep it in the closet, clown boy.
I don't want to
ask clowns abound. I can't take it.
Yeah, you don't need one on stage. But yeah, I think the thing with the show is when those parts came together, it just became this explosion of fun. And I think it's so hard to have fun anymore. It's almost, especially in Los Angeles, where everything's like regulated and we can't drink that late and you can't do this on the street. And it's fucked. Like they just try to put fun in a box, or go to the city walk where it's a prefab thing. And so, we try to just create this controlled chaos that keeps moving, and it just kind of takes off. The energy just takes off into its own place. So I think, a lot of people responded favorably to it. And Dave Stewart was looking to do this kind of chat show that was a little bit surreal, and was looking for a co-host. And I went and talked with him, and we're just having a chat. And I thought, God, he really doesn't like me. This is weird. And then he actually is like, well, I'd like you to do it. And I was like, what?
Why do you think he didn't like you?
Because he's inscrutable. He's kind of very British poker face.
Yeah.
And he's from Sunderland, so he's like a little bit hard to understand. That accent.
That's really blue.
But he's actually, once I got to know him, he's really, really fascinating, really fun, and I learned a lot from him. He's really, really great. I met Bob Dylan at his office, and that was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. He was amazing. He just wanted to talk about Lucha VaVOOM. I was like, can we talk about you? Okay, no, we'll talk about me. That's okay. Girls like that anyway, right?
When COVID first hit, I was like, great, every man will have to wear a mask. Just saying. I mean, I've always suggested burkas for men, not for women. I mean, when a pillowcase fails, you've always got the
Roar.
Well, yes.
I still put on makeup and then my masks were hilarious. Christine wanted me to give her she's like, look at you, you trash. It just is like my whole face and just imprinted in the mask. I still have them somewhere.
Do you still are you still in touch with Dave Stewart? Is he like a close friend? Do you work with him with stuff?
Not recently. I think he kind of relocated to some tropical paradise, Bermuda or one of those. I can't remember which ones. So he's not really located here. He's going to move to Nashville. But whenever we like each other's stuff, and whenever I have something to say, I can reach out to him. But I guess it's on an as needed basis.
Right.
But yeah, he's lovely. And and I also met Ringo Starr through him, and that was pretty great.
I just read an article about how Ringo Starr threw his son out of the house because he had two sons and they were both drummers. And the oldest son became so arrogant and was so sick of being compared to Ringo Starr that he just became arrogant. And Ringo's like, get out. All right, get out. But I mean, isn't that the way it is? I mean, the son should have told Ringo to get out. You're over, Dad.
Yeah. Well, with his kind of Vegas review tour that he does I think it's called like the Ringo Starr All Stars or something like that.
Yeah.
The son was really pissed off when Ringo married Barbara Bach. Was she on what show was she on, Tim? You know those shows.
She was in Spy That Loved Me, I think, or
okay.
And then that movie Caveman with Ringo Starr. Was she on a TV show?
I never saw that.
I have no idea because I don't care. So I don't know. Back to Largo
Sorry.
for a minute.
Yeah,
Largo was a great LA club. I played there quite a few times as well. And that was just, hosting serious and comedy and all kinds of acts. And when that closed, I think the last time I performed there was with Susan Tyrrell reading from my book Paradoxia.
Oh my God, I love
it. She was.
Oh, I wish I'd been there.
She's another one. She had the voice of vomit. She was like, what a
I loved her.
She was amazing. One of my favorite actresses. And at this point, she had no legs. She had her wheelchair, alcoholic diabetes, both legs cut off. And I think she even took off her prosthetic legs and just whale me to the stage.
Oh my God.
It's online. Susan Tyrrell reading from Paradoxia at the Largo. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. So Rita, I mean, it must have been difficult during COVID because what could go on? Was anything being done by Zoom? What were you doing then?
I used to host these Instagram dance parties where I drink mezcal and dance with my roommate. And we would get these crazy mixes by different DJs around the world. And then I'd kind of link in some of the performers. And people had a lot of fun. Like, it was so weird. And then I didn't want to do one of those shows where like people pay and watch you, do a number. I just thought, you can watch Netflix. Why do you want to watch this low-fi production? So I did a thing with KCRW, which is like I did with Danita Sparks. We did a number with her. Starcrawler did a special. So it was like a special. And I hosted it outside the Mayan in a great old convertible, but I still had to wear a mask. So I finally make my on-camera hosting debut. I was like, well, next actress.
And KCW is a long time running very good radio station in LA. I mean, it's got some great programming on it. And of course, we love Danita Sparks.
Yeah, it was great. It kind of went viral. I wanted to do because LA summers, I kind of have this 70s van with a Frazetta painting on it driving to the beach view of LA. So I thought, wow, we're losing this entire summer where we'd be sun in our buns. Not me, I avoid the sun. But I thought, well, why don't I do a kind of ode to this, dream California summer, and so we had different girls. I had the roller girls with a bunch of lowriders. I wanted to do it at the beach, but that's cost prohibitive, so we did it by downtown, and all this kind of combining these elements. And so Danita was not wanting to come out of the house at all. So she filmed herself, and then 3 other dancers and myself just danced all over LA. So we performed together, just like at all these monuments. And we were up at Griffith Park, going, like with these bikinis on, and up by the Hollywood sign.
Well,
Just
we're
people
better
were
than the
shimmy
we're better than near the observatory. Hello.
We were observed being pretty lewd, and there's families were like, oh well, it was a thrill, I'm sure. So yeah, that was really great, and it coincided with I think the 30th anniversary of Smell the Magic. So that was kind of Rolling Stone picked it up, and it kind of went off from there.
Oh, by the way, you mentioned before Black Sabwitch. Well, Retrovirus has been opening with War Pigs on a recent tour by
All
Black
right.
Sabbath.
Yeah.
Are you going to do an acoustic version?
Oh my God, I don't think
No,
so.
no, I don't think
No.
so.
I'll send you. You could just go to the band camp and hear for free or a donation the version that Weasel Walter plays everything on. It's
oh my God,
ridiculous. It's so
I
good.
love. I filmed you and Sylvia doing Ain't Talking About Love.
Oh, thank
and
you.
that's still one of my favorite things. I love it.
We have an album. It will be finished, and hopefully it will come. I mean, I don't even know how records come out anymore, but it's almost finished, and it's wonderful working with the lovely Sylvia Black. Just
I can't
a
wait.
maestro. Yes.
Yeah.
So what about musical inclinations for you? I mean, you can't just sit on that voice. That's a great.
I am just tonight. I'm going to go do karaoke. It's karaoke night.
Where's that? Oh, I can't wait.
Casita del Campo. I did karaoke in Palm Springs with Christine, who sang Superstar, the Carpenter song, and it still haunts me, but that deep long ago.
What's your karaoke go-to when you participate?
I like to sing Girls, Girls, Girls by
Molly Crew. Well, Simon's uncle produced that song.
No way.
Wait a minute. Say that again. Our producer, Simon Slater's uncle, produced Girls, Girls, Girls.
Second uncle, I don't know. Tommy Werman.
Wow. I love singing stupid songs like We're an American Band by Grand Funk. Any stupid songs, like just please recommend something. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, American Woman could be the follow-up. I love that song.
Oh, that would be a good song.
It's the pairing that
you're
really
writing it down. I love that.
I know. I can't remember shit.
No, but it's always it's the pairing that makes it, like the character that's singing it, and when it's dissonant with the material is always, I find it the most entertaining.
Well, Tim, have you ever done karaoke, Tim?
Yeah.
I know Weasel's the master of
he's
karaoke.
The master. I've done it. I'm going to start developing Genie in the Bottle, because those lyrics, like, oh boy, if you want to be with me, those lyrics are pretty insane. I mean, a male doing it is actually borderline sexual harassment. So I was considering adopting that one. I like Caesar, who would do 18 by Alice Cooper, which is pretty funny.
That's a good one. I think we should go when you're here.
Ooh, all right.
I want an invitation.
I got practice.
All right, throwing down the gauntlet.
All right.
I wish I had some musical plans other than that, but this will get me off my ass.
Oh, good. Well, I plan on poking that pretty ass with my cattle prodder. Just for fun. That's what I do. I'm a cattle prodder. I'm just like, hey, what about this? Let's do that. Come on, let's go. Whatever, we just do it. Tim and I just came back from 4 shows. They were all fantastic.
Well, actually,
and they were wonderful.
8 shows because we had 2 different acts.
We had the Retrovirus for 4 coldest fucking days of my life in Canada. In Buffalo, really, actually. We did Retrovirus for 4 shows, New York, and then 3 in Canada. Came back for a day and a half, 2 days. Then Tim, I, and Matt Nelson went out to Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Oberlin College, and Buffalo. I think it was freaking cold.
The coldest place.
And we drove by East Palestine, Ohio, where it had that big toxic train wreck. We had to
Oh, I was going to ask you about that.
And Buffalo had an earthquake, and by the way, they just had another explosion in Ohio, 45 minutes from that at some other kind of plant. There's 1,000 train derailments every year in this freaking country. I can't even believe it. That's
and
like
our trains
3 a day.
Barely,
3 a day.
Oh,
well, what we don't know will hurt us.
Not to get too political. That was there were some regulations that I guess Obama pushed through to avoid such things, and then out of spite, Trump basically took that away immediately.
Well, Obama pushed through
Yeah.
some laws, and they said, okay, they can go through in 2029.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
I mean, I don't even want to get into that whole another ecological disaster in this country because there's so many. I mean, last count like 1,900 sites, not super fun necessarily, that you should not live near, which means you are within 50 miles of your own near death. That's why I choose to live.
I didn't know that. I'm going to look that up just so I can have some more stress. Well,
it actually gives me great comfort.
Yeah. The temperature here dropped to around below 70, so I had to go put on a coat.
Well, I don't know what the temperature is here, but I've got the fan on, and it's February in Brooklyn.
Wow.
I'm near Dallas right now, and it got close to 90 here today. It was
Jesus. How long?
And by the way, the middle of the country today and tomorrow is being shut down by massive snowstorms. It's all wackadoodle. It just is.
It is.
Yeah. Well.
But you got your monkey fur coat on, so I guess you're nice and toasty now. See, if you rubbed up against me, it would be great because you would just never need a heater again. Because I am.
Oh my God.
No, it's not true because
I'm always cold.
My flesh is cool, but I'm like a volcano, cool on the outside, boiling on the inside. Trust.
I'm dead inside now.
No. So you were born in New York City, though, right?
Yes, I was. Queens. I will admit it. I was born at Flushing Hospital.
Admit it. Nothing to be ashamed of.
It's Bridget Dunaway, but that's where I was from. And then I was in Whitestone until my parents decided, it was the 70s and it was getting kind of shitty. So they'd moved to beautiful Los Angeles.
Beautiful. It was shitty in the 70s.
The early 70s. Yeah.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
I mean, the air quality in LA in the 70s up until mid 80s was, it was dangerous. In fact, it was I forget the number because I looked it up the other day. It was something like 80 days a year were like above the EPA.
I had headaches every day the first time I lived in LA in the early 80s until about 2:00 in the afternoon. It was from the smog.
Yeah, I couldn't do activities outside when I was in school. But you'd fly through that smog in a plane, and it was like
it's much
you had to cross through that shit layer to get.
No, but here's a positive thing. It's actually improved considerably in Los Angeles, and so there are measures that can be taken that can actually make these things better.
Well, at least you can't see how shitty the air is.
Well, you can in certain places. I remember we were in Mexico City, Lydia, and that can be rough there.
Toxic.
Well, yeah. Well, that's cheerful. So.
Yeah. I mean, do you like nature? Do you go out in nature when you can, or are you more like a homebody? What's your?
I love nature in small doses. I like comfy indoors. I don't like eating outside.
Right.
Are you scared in the woods?
I just don't find it pleasant. There's nowhere comfortable. I don't want to eat on a paper plate or on a blanket. I really don't like that kind of shit. But I love hiking. I love to go somewhere exotic and like Japan or something and go up into the mountains. I love visiting temples and interesting things. But other than that, hiking and stuff, I'm not super interested. I like, controlled climate.
A nice bouquet of calla lilies.
Yeah, I'm like Gloria Swanson, Norma Desmond a little bit.
Well, honey, you're always ready for your close-up. Come on, let's face it. Even your mask had a close-up for him. Well, I'm very excited. What?
I was gonna ask if you're outdoorsy folk.
Oh, Tim is. He does it for me. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I don't go hiking because I might hurt somebody else. I'm not afraid of the woods. I'm afraid of what I might do when I'm out there. Tim is an outdoorsman, an adventurer, a scuba diver, a surfer, a hiker, a bear hunter.
These are a little exaggerated, but I do.
Not true.
I like just to experience different things, and sometimes
paddleboard.
Oh yeah,
like a nice
I like paddling people. Sometimes being
Nice.
paddled, sometimes even being paddled, I'll admit it.
You have to be flexible.
Turn around is fair play. You have to know what you're doing. So how better than to experience it yourself?
What was this
Agreed.
event? What was this event I saw you posted with Ron Athey with this kind of panoramic camera
Oh, that
thing?
was neat. There was, Freeze Art Week here, and I just kind of was on riding his coattails to some snazzy parties. So that was Alpha Esparza's kind of thing, and it was at Norma Talmadge's beach house, and it was really lovely actually. A lot of nice people, and then they had that panoramic setup, and we had fun. And then everyone was asleep by 11:30, so it was a perfect night.
We love Ron Athey here.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah, of course. You don't. I mean, 11:30 is that your ideal bedtime?
No. We're just, the evening started at 6. We had to kind of go around to some other art kind of foundational type things. So when you start at 6, and also here, when you drive to Santa Monica, it's such an epic undertaking. It's like some kind of journey out of The Hobbit or something. So by the time we got there, we're,
Exhausted by
you factor
fumes.
that-
People
Yeah.
don't realize. I mean, LA is pretty much an early town. I mean,
Yeah.
all towns are kind of early now, I guess, but LA has always been an early town, other than the very outliers, because a lot of people go to work really early there as well. If they work in the
Yeah.
industry,
It must have to do with the Wall Street opening at 3 hours earlier.
it might have to do with the lack of oxygen, even though they cleared the smog. I don't know. Plus, she didn't say who she was going to bed with. Hey.
Woo! I think that the sun comes up and it's usually sunny. So the walk of shame is hideous. So I won't stay out. I won't do that anymore. And I don't always carry giant sunglasses with me. So I try to get in by like 3:30.
Fair enough.
Or at least if the sun starts, I gotta go home.
Right.
I do not want. It's too terrifying.
Do you wash your face every night?
No,
I never wash my face.
I love seeing my face imprinted on the pillow.
Nice.
I do it. I'll take my eyelashes off, and other than that, who has time? And my skin's just fine. I don't do any of that stuff.
Well, you avoid the sun. You said that probably helps.
Yeah,
honey, as long as you wash what's down below, just put more on above the belly. Just keep piling it on.
Yeah, Queen Elizabeth I style. That is a good, because you have the guidelines already there. It makes it easier to fill in.
I say my skin condition and the lack of what aging is from pan stick, because it's so thick and greasy. It just protected me from everything.
It is. It's a nice layer.
Anyway, Tim Dahl has a layer of sweet smelling perfume, which
it's
from his own body. He doesn't need makeup. They just take he was recently accosted by a gaggle of men interested in his scent because they saw something about it in a so-called documentary about me, which his scent is described accurately.
I mean, it was a gang of Canadian, very gay prog rockers. It made no sense.
Wow.
But, it was in
Coming
Toronto,
for a sniff. Coming for a sniff.
Well, whatever.
Whatever turns you on, baby.
So we're meeting on the 12th, or we're going to do the performance on the 12th. I mean, any big goals this year? Are there any major giant events that you see coming in the next year that you're working towards?
I'm working on a wrestling thing for Paris in the summer.
Awesome. Oh, awesome.
I'm hoping I can spread that around to some other cities. As long as you're going to the trouble of getting to Paris, it seems dumb to just do the one show. So I'm working around that. I'm also working on Australia. And with
Australia's great. I mean, we've been there many times. It's one of my favorite places to go.
I love it.
So how would that work? Would you bring the talent that you kind of develop with you, or would you find talents in these regions?
It's usually great as a mixed bag to like bring the local people in, because you don't want to tote the ring on a plane. So you get a local company to bring the ring, and then you can put them in the mix. I've created enough characters and have the full costume that I can kind of school them a little bit on what this character is, and they can flesh that out and work with our wrestlers. But yeah, for this will be a lot of guys from Mexico, some from LA, and then I want to bring in local dancers and stuff for in between.
Right.
So yeah,
right.
that's
definitely
still
should go to Barcelona, and we can talk about that later. Have you seen the dark side of the ring?
No,
about professional about and wrestling entertainment
docu-series.
Oh, it's a series.
It's really good. Vice did it, but I'm thinking you should propose the pink side of the ring.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna talk about that. The pink side of the ring. Hello, it's got to be documented. Dark side of the ring. I love it. Yeah. What?
Yeah. Oh, I did an all-girl wrestling show, and I'm thinking about doing that again, and that was a lot of fun.
Well, this is more like a docu-series about all the crimes and the nightmares and the emotional horror of just being in a wrestling family. But we'll talk about that.
I did see one episode. It made me really sad.
Yes, but we could have the pink side, and maybe it would be a more uplifting experience.
That's what I'm thinking.
Anyway, I'm very excited about taking you and some of your gal pals from the burlesque stage to the spoken word stage, because just as I did it for barmaids here, I've done it for different types of all female, usually, workshops. I'm very excited. Stories have got to be told. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to do it. It's going to be a riot.
I'm excited to hear everyone's stories too.
And you got to get that voice on the stage, babe.
You're going to have to show me how to use it so I don't sound like Peppermint Patty from the Peanuts gang. Because I feel like that was probably how my voice wound up being like this.
I kind of don't. I can't remember what her voice sounded like. I guess
she's like monotone and scratchy. I don't know.
Okay.
Honey, it's worked for me all these years. I don't know, monotone and scratchy. No biggie. We got that covered.
My favorite voice from the Peanuts was the trombone teacher response. Like every time they talk, there's always a trombone afterwards. I thought that was creative.
I love that. Yeah, I'm not like a Peanuts gang enthusiast. I just noticed.
No, neither am I.
I don't like Peanuts, the cartoon, the comic, or the actual Peanuts. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks
Rita.
for having me.
Absolutely. Musician, singer, songwriter, performer, producer. Lazy, I beg to differ. We're going to have some luxurious bed lying when we get out there, because we have a few days off. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And karaoke.
And yes, I'll remember.
Get your songs ready.
All right.
I can't wait to see you. Thank you.
See you soon. Okay.
Take care.